Hi, welcome to the class. I know we're into our, going into our fourth week now, and I normally have a welcome video set up by this point, but at the beginning of the semester, I had a terrible cold and lost my voice, and so that would have been a miserable video. So I'm making one now, better late than never, and I wanted to introduce myself to you. My name is Stephen D. Joya, and I'm the instructor for this class, of course, and I teach classes among the political science and sociology department, and most of my classes focus on our structure of society. So I teach everything from intro to soc through public administration, and so I'm really interested in how our systems operate and function. I like looking at the successes and failures in those systems. I was born in New York City, and when I was a kid, we lived in an Italian neighborhood that had a very high population of immigrants from Italy living in it. And my exposure to race and ethnic relations actually didn't start there. I mean, I consider that a big beginning to my understanding of ethnic relations. But when I was 8, we moved to Honolulu, and I grew up over there in Hawaii. And in Hawaii, I lived in a place where, as you can see from the first week, everybody's a minority. And so I got to understand what it's like to interact with numerous different types of people. And it was wonderful. It was a great experience and really opened my eyes to how this world can operate. While I was in high school, I came to South Dakota on a trip with a church group I was part of, and we stayed in the Cheyenne River Reservation and went to a small community called Greengrass. And at that point, I really took a strong interest in Lakota people, and that stuck with me. As I went back to Hawaii, my focus and attention was drawn on learning more about American Indians, in particular the Lakota. And I like to personally study culture and the interactions that took place between the Lakota and the settlers throughout, and I pursued my interest in that in exploring the occupation of Lakota lands throughout history. So that's something I take a very strong interest in. When I graduated college, I met my wife, Summer, and we moved away from Spearfish for a little while, lived in Phoenix, and then we came back to raise our children. We have 3 beautiful children, and we spend our time actually focusing and celebrating culture and society. My ethnic background is, as you could tell from my last name, I'm Italian American, but I'm also the product of a very common thing with Italian Americans. Italian Americans are the second most likely group of people to marry outside of their ethnicity. So my grandfathers both married people who weren't Italian. So I am also Russian Jewish and Trinidadi. And so I have, going through my bloodlines, I have 3 chapters of this textbook. My wife is Lakota Sioux, and so my kids have 4 chapters of this textbook going through them. And so this is something that I find very interesting, very personal, and wonderful to experience. You know, I love the study of race and ethnicity. This class, we are starting off by looking at the structural foundations of race and ethnic relations. And so we're starting off, as you noticed, we looked at the concept of whiteness. We looked at the concept of place. And so we looked at Hawaii, which has a very unique situation for ethnicity and race. And then we compared that to Whitopia. So these are towns that have mostly a makeup of white people. And as you notice from that video, it by itself isn't a bad thing, but there can be things that come about from that. So for instance, he discusses in that video how you can have racism without racist. We're going to go through the structures of race and ethnicity at the beginning of the class. Then after we do this, we're going to start investigating individual ethnic groups and racial groups. As we do that, the concepts we apply and we study between ethnic groups can be used to focus, not just to focus on that one group. You can take what happens with one group and apply it to others. So for instance, when we're studying the chapter on Hispanic Americans, we're going to discuss some of the conflict that comes up from being multiracial. So some people who might be half one culture, half another, and how that ends up playing out to be sometimes a difficult thing for them. That's not isolated towards Hispanics. Every single group of people goes through that. They might go through it in a slightly different way, but they all do go through something like that. So the concepts applied in each group can be looked at as others. Most of the research in race and ethnic relation in this country is done from African American scholars, and so what we apply from them can be branched out to look at other people. I wanted to just actually come and say hi, make a face-to-face video. It's very unlike me to make one 4 weeks into the semester, but that's the reason why I'm making it now. I want you to put a picture of what I look like to what I'm saying on my screencast and for whatever I type. I also want to let you know that I'm here for you. So if you have any questions or feedback, make sure you send me an email and I will meet with you and we will get any issues resolved or any questions answered. Thank you so much. I look forward to learning with all of you this semester.